Very cool. So we have a bunch of people that have been here before, and a bunch of people it's your first time. So we're excited to have both of you guys here. Have you guys had a chance to go over to the museum and see the museum yet?
Not yet.
Well, if you get a chance, definitely go see it. My name is Carl Jones. I'll be your narrator and demonstrator today. Probably helps if I don't have this big yellow cord in my face. Let me get that out of the way for you guys. But we're going to be making a piece for you shortly. This is going to be Jordan. He's going to be assisting me. Just go ahead and pull up and let it go straight on up. Nope, I shouldn't need it. But we're going to have a lovely little slideshow that you guys can follow along on the screens above. We can tell you a little bit about what we do here at this studio. We're going to start off with a nice exterior shot of the building that you're in right now, the Chrysler Glass Studio. Chrysler Glass Studio has only been here for around 7 to 8 years. 7 to 8 years ago, we converted an old bank building, into a glass studio. In fact, if you guys look, you can see our big vault, our big safe in the back. That's where we have our only remaining evidence of that bank building. Because when they build the safe, when they build a bank, they build the safe first. The rest of the structure around it. So we couldn't get rid of it, we utilize it the best we can. We have all of our glass tools, all of our glass power in there. Now, I mentioned the museum just a second ago. The museum has a very large collection that spans all different periods of history, and all different time periods from all over the world. So if you get a chance to wander those halls, it's very beautiful inside, but they have a very large glass collection. In fact, they have the second largest glass collection in the United States, and we're not quite second, we're neck and neck with Toledo, Ohio. That being said, that's why we're here. We're here to complement that collection, so you guys can go over, see some very beautiful pieces, come over, see how they may have been made, and then maybe if you're very adventurous, come out and hang out with us, try it yourself one time. We do offer a lot of different classes and a lot of different processes. We can talk about that real quick.
You want to switch one over because she's pretty much sitting on it.
I just introduced you guys to Jordan. Jordan is part of our assistantship program. He is one of our many assistants here. We get a group of around 6 to 8
Thank you, baby.
people with some experience in glass, whether it's a number of years of working with the material, or they have a degree in the fine arts, or a healthy combination of the two. And they help us with everything. They come to us for basically a work exchange program. They get a chance to utilize this facility, but they help us maintain it. They get a chance to work with any of the visiting artists that come through, but they help us teach all these different classes that we do here. So we're very indebted to our assistants. So if you guys can do me a favor, let's give Jordan a big round of applause for all of these assistants. Along with all of our other assistants that are scattered around the studio, we have one more assistant who's going to be running the cameras up top while we're doing the demonstration. So glass is a very versatile material. We can use it in many different ways, and we have different rooms in this studio catered towards different processes. So we'll start off upstairs in our flat glass studio, where we can do a couple different processes. The first one we'll talk about is stained glass. This is where we'll take multiple sheets of flat glass, cut them up into the size and shape that we want, and then kind of line them up together like a puzzle, and solder them together using a combination of copper wire and lead foil. You guys get a chance to go to the museum, we have a very large and very beautiful Tiffany collection, which I highly recommend you see. It's kind of one of the jewels of our collection. But another way of working with flat glass is actually to fuse it together. We can fuse glass. This is where we take multiple sheets of flat glass, cut them up into the size and shape that we want, but this time we'll stack them on top of each other, stack them together, and put them inside of the kiln. The kiln is essentially a giant construction that we use to slowly heat up and slowly cool down our glass. So in this hand, I have the pre-fused tile, which is still kind of tacked together. You can see all those jagged edges. And then I have the one that's gone through that firing cycle inside the kiln. It was melted at around 1490 degrees Fahrenheit. It caused it to melt into one solid layer of glass. You can see how much smoother and nicer it is.
Wow.
Now, if I wanted to, I could take this process a step further and do a process called slumping. I'll give you a hand. I'll take that flexion from you. Okay, that's fine. We can take a nice, beautiful sheet of flat glass, and we can put it over a ceramic shape, and put it inside of the kiln one more time, and use a combination of heat and gravity to let that flat sheet of glass conform to that curve below, giving you a nice curved dish. If you guys don't get a chance to see any of these pieces up close, we're going to leave them all up here so you you guys can come take a nice little look later on. Now, if you look up on the screen, one of my favorite pieces of the museum is this wonderful piece by Chrysler, where she basically takes a lot of strippers, these really thin fibers or strippers of glass, many thousands of them, basically stacks them on top of each other, uses them together, and she sculpts them over a shape. That's not enough for her. So she actually puts on some very fire protective gear, some very heat resistant gear, and she actually goes into that kiln when it's at full temperature. She picks up the piece with really thick gloves, and she'll push it together, pull it out, make those really undulating shapes in there much more dynamic. So now we're going to move from upstairs down over here to our flame working section. You can see we've got a bunch of metal tables over here. We're teaching a neon class right now. But we usually have a bunch of little torches set up there. Those torches are connected to both oxygen and propane. So we can make a very small but a very hot flame. And Jordan's walking around a couple examples from our classes. We can take prefabricated tubes and rods of glass, work on a small scale. We can make a nice beautiful series of bees like you've seen in his left hand. Or a nice beautiful flower. We get very sculptural. We get very detailed sculptural pieces. And if you go into the museum, there is this wonderful chess set made by a man named Gianni Toso. It is a beautiful piece. All the pieces are highly unique, individualized, and very detailed. If you guys get a chance, definitely see this piece. It's one of my favorites. And also, if we're sticking over in the flame section, we can also do scientific class. We can all make all sorts of different types of glass to study the different properties of liquids and gases. Now, you guys can see over here, we can also do neon. We have some beautiful tubes that some of our students have been learning to bend this morning. We have a bunch of different pieces we're putting over there that we can use to heat up the tubes and heat up certain amounts of the tube to basically get a nice good bend or even a nice sharp bend, depending on what you like. Once we're done bending those tubes, we can vacuum all the impurities out of there and then pump them full of gases, noble gases, and then we put electrodes on either end so we can send electrical current through it. That's how you get that beautiful vibrance on the inside. And if you go over to the museum, this is the only piece you're allowed to touch. Please don't touch anything else in the museum. Okay. So now we're going to move out here to the hot shop. This is kind of our main stage where most of our demos and action takes place. And we're going to talk about a couple different methods of working in the hot shop. The first method is going to be a way of working with glass in a solid manner. It's a casting method, more specifically a sand casting method. This is where we can take a big metal trough and fill it full of sand. Then we can take different objects to make impressions in the sand, like either a little rubber ducky or a wonderful seahorse or your friend's face, and we can shove it gently into the sand to make a lovely impression. Then we can take a nice big ladle, fill it full of glass, bring it over, and fill that impression full of that glass. That's why you can see for a second. That's why you can see on this side, it's very textured, where it's touching the sand. And the other side is where it's very smooth, where it's exposed to the open air. Thank you so much. All right. So the last process we'll talk about is the process we're going to do with you guys today. We're going to do a little bit of glass blowing with you guys today. This is where we use all these tools you see in the bench, along with all those pipes and rods you see over there, and our pipe warmer to remove glass from our furnace and then shape it up into whatever we want to make it. But to basically be a glass blower, to make it a blown object, you actually have to insert a bubble into the glass. Once you insert a bubble into the glass, it's now hollow. You can shape it from both the interior and exterior at the same time. Now, George walked around a couple pieces from some of our classes. A nice beautiful ornament along with a nice wonderful candy dish. We're just getting into our fall season, so we're getting ready to start our pumpkin tour.
That's so cool.
If everyone can come make your own glass pumpkins, you should come hang out with us. Okay, mind if I borrow that candy dish real quick? So this candy dish is one of my favorite pieces in the studio because we have this just to dispel a myth that you cannot inhale while you're blowing glass because you're afraid you'll get heat or glass into your mouth or lungs. It's not going to happen. Number one, it's going to travel up a 4-foot long steel pipe, and that steel pipe will never be hot enough for it to travel all the way up. And if it is, you're not putting your mouth on it. So the way we make this piece is we start off with a full sphere first, a full sphere. And then we have the instructor heat up just the top half, get it nice and hot. And then you have the student inhaler suck in, which basically pulls that glass back, making it collapse on itself into that nice little dish shape you see right here.
That's nice.
Perfect. And again, here's a nice little example of one of our pumpkins that we're going to be starting in our couple weeks ago pumpkin classes. And if you look on the screen above, we have a wonderful piece by one of the rock stars of the glass world,
Very
and
cute.
Nancy Count.
Wow.
She gets many different inspirations from all sorts of different things, but one of my
Wow,
favorite things
nice.
she takes inspiration from is her old love of comics. She likes to, she basically made this wonderful speech bubble with all the original colors of Aquaman. It's kind of deceiving because you imagine it's about this big, but in reality it's closer to being around this big. Alright, so again, if anything seems interesting, if any of these different processes seem interesting and you would like to come take a class, we have a bunch of course catalogs we have at the front desk that you guys are more than welcome to take with you as you leave today. But before we go any further, if you guys can do me a favor, if you're sitting in this front row right here, could you please put on a pair of safety glasses? If you're wearing prescription glasses, that will suffice. You do not need to double up. However, if you do want to wear 19 pairs of glasses, I will not sell them. So now we're going to quickly go through some of the equipment that we have here in the hot shop. I'm going to throw it over and he's going to open up our furnace. The furnace is the heart of our studio. Basically, it's where we keep all of our molded glass, all of our mold material. There's around 2,150 degrees Fahrenheit inside. So again, it's a pretty hot chamber inside there. When glass is that hot, it has the consistency of honey. So imagine a big bowl of honey inside of that furnace. Right next to our furnace, we have our pipe warmer, which does exactly what the name suggests. It's basically pumping out a nice open flame, preheating the tips of all of our pipes because glass does not like to stick to a cold surface. Now we're going to have George do us a quick favor and move this heat shield out of the way. And we're going to introduce you guys to our reheating chamber. Yeah, go come down the way and open up the door. So open up the door so you guys can see inside. But this reheating chamber is the same temperature as the furnace, 2,150 degrees. And if you see inside, you see there's no glass inside there other than probably, you guys might just see orange. But there is no glass inside there. It's just a big ball of fire. The reason we have this piece of equipment is to make sure we keep our glass nice and warm. Glass is a very poor conductor of heat. In fact, it's an insulator, not a conductor. So once you remove it from the heat source, it starts to cool off rapidly, whether it be with an air, rolling across the metal table, touching with the metal tools. It'll get very cold. The colder it gets, the more solid it becomes, the harder it is to manipulate. That's when you go back into that reheating chamber, reestablish some of that heat, get it nice and gooey again, and keep on working with our piece. Now the final piece that we'll talk about is our kiln, which I mentioned several times already. We can use it to slowly heat up and slowly cool down our glass. Basically just a big toaster oven. When we're making a piece out here in the hot shop, we use that kiln to slowly cool it down. Because you can imagine if we make a piece and we just left it out here in the open air, within a matter of minutes, that piece is going to crack, possibly explode. We went from a 2,000 degree honey-like consistency to a solid object in a very short amount of time. So there's a lot of tension in that piece. Coupled with the fact that when glass cools off, it cools off on the exterior first. It's colder on the exterior, it cools out there first. So you have a hotter core, colder exterior. That temperature change causes even more tension. They can become volatile, whether towards a crack or explosion. That's why we rush this piece and we put it inside of the kiln behind this big metal facade. We have a big kiln room back there that we can put a bunch of our objects in. And we have that kiln sitting around 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's a nice hot chamber. That way when we put it inside that hot chamber, it's hot in the exterior piece, it's hot in the core. And once we're done making all of our objects, that's when we can turn the kiln off and we'll start to slowly cool down to room temperature, giving it a chance to basically anneal, giving a chance for all those molecules to come to a standstill and become a nice, beautiful, solid object. Now, depending on how thick an object is how long it has to go through that cooling process. Something really thin, like this beautiful glass ornament, may take around 12 to 14 hours to cool off. Or something much thicker is like this glass ducky, so it'll take closer to 30 to 36 hours to cool off. You guys go over to the museum and you go into our ancient galleries. We have a modern glass piece that's kind of juxtaposed in there. Oh man, do we not have that here? In our ancient statue gallery, You guys are fine. It is a life-size cast glass dress made by an artist named Caroline Moss. It is very beautiful, it's very big, and it is hollow, but it's still so thick. It's been 6 months in the dealer cooling off. So the thicker a piece of the thicker a piece of glass is, the longer it takes for it to cool off. Some of the big mirrors that they make for telescopes take a year to cool off. So it's just, again, it's a very, very lengthy process. If you're lengthy cooling process,
That's cool.
Very, very big objects. Now I'm going to show you some of the properties of glass. If you don't mind, Jordan, I'm going to have you run grab me a gather real quick. I'm going to have Jordan grab a solid metal rod called a punty rod, and he's going to remove some material from our furnace. We call that the active gathering. He's going to go into our big pool of honey-like glass inside there and turn inside that big amount of material. Let it wrap around the end. And what he comes out with is a gather of glass. And he's going to constantly turn his fingertips as he brings this over. Once he stops turning, you can see it starts to become very responsive to gravity. It pulls right down to the ground. When it's nice and hot like this, it's easy to just cut right through. It pops right down to the ground, doesn't bounce around the way a nice cold marble would. It's also, when it's really hot in this stain, it's also extremely elastic. So as long as George stays nice and hot, we can keep going and going and going, but this is as far as we'll take it. Now, do you guys remember how hot this glass is coming out of the furnace? 2,000 degrees? And I'm touching my bare hand. We pulled this glass so thin, so far, so fast, all that heat dissipated right
Wow.
away.
Fiberglass.
I don't normally think of glass as being nice and flexible, but I'm actually doing a pretty decent job of lassoing this up here. I really don't want to jinx myself too much, because if I get this all the way, I get a prize. Oh. Okay, that's good enough. I don't need a prize for that. So I have this really thin amount of, a really tiny stringer of glass. Really thin, almost hair-like stringers of glass. Now, who here has high-speed internet? Let me rephrase that. Who here does not have high-speed internet? This is actually how you get your high-speed internet. They actually use what we call fiber optic cables. They put these little glass fibers inside those cables, and they send messages through light, and that's how you're able to get your high-speed internet. Now, I'm going to leave a couple of these little stringers out there to take a look at later. Please do me a favor. Don't try to take any of these home with you, because I can tell you what you're going to do is put them in your pocket, forget that you have it in your pocket, put your hand back in your pocket later, and give yourself the worst splinter of your life. And I can tell you, you will most certainly feel it, but you will have a very hard time seeing it because it is crystal clear. So we're going to do one more quick property test. I'm going to have Jordan grab a blowpipe this time. This time, instead of being a solid metal rod, it has a hollow tube that goes all the way down the piece, so we can actually blow air through it and air into the glass. And Jordan's going to gather up that material the exact same way by going inside that furnace, turning inside that big pool of glass inside there. And what he comes out with is a gather of our material. Now it's a little too hot to put a bubble in right away, so he's actually going to go over to our metal table called a marker, and he's going to shape this by rolling it across the surface of our metal table. As he does this removes a lot of heat from the surface, basically giving it a nice exoskeleton. He's basically shaping and cooling it at the same time. And then when he's ready, he's going to blow air to one side, trap that air with his thumb immediately so it has nowhere else to go except for into this mass of glass. You can see that bubble slowly shoot up. Now, just for fun, we showed you what happens if we pull the glass in one direction. We're sure what happens when we expand it in all directions at the same time. So we're just going to keep on blowing. And as this piece gets colder, it's going to start to shape up in really different and unusual ways. It's going to keep expanding as long as there's heat in certain areas. That's why it's not really moving so much down here as it is kind of moving just a little bit more up there. And it's not moving in a nice, even manner. It's not making a nice, perfect sphere. It's actually moving a little bit more like a very weird Cheeto right now. Whenever you're ready, bud. Very nice. So we were able to pop that glass, and it's really thin, but it's still just a little bit thicker than that stringer I picked up earlier, so be careful picking up a piece here, because I do like having sensation in my fingertips. very, very thin piece of glass right here.
Wow.
Now when glass is thin, it has some of the properties of plastic, so we refer to this as cellophane glass. Now this isn't really useful for most of the things that we do here in the studio. You know, you can't really build off of it. Doesn't retain a lot of, well, you can't build off of it, doesn't retain a lot of structure or anything like that. So it's very difficult to use other than a demonstration. But we did have one assistant many years ago who was very tired of us saying that on each demo. So she spent a couple weeks to a couple months collecting as many of these pieces as she could, and she spent a lot of time making her own glass direction, thousands of these pieces. And as she walked around, she left this glass trail behind her. It was very beautiful. So that's the wonderful thing about art. Someone tells you you can't do something, prove them wrong. All right, so we've got that part of the demonstration. We'll get started on the making of our piece. I'm going to go ahead and grab a blowpipe and gather up that material the exact same way Jordan did, by going inside the glass and turning, letting it wrap around the end. And what I come out with is a wonderful layer of our crystal clear glass. Now this is crystal clear glass, I promise. I know it looks orange. It's because of that 2,000 degree heat radiating off the surface there. Does anybody know what glass is made out of?
Sand.
Sand, absolutely. And also, I'm very informal, so I ask a question, you do not need to raise your hand, I promise. But sand is the main component. More specifically, silica sand, the type of sand you mine out of mountains. Now that melts at a very high temperature, around 3,500 degrees, which is a little too aggressive for our equipment here. So we had a couple other components to the glass. We had a flux to the glass, in this case soda ash, and that drops the melting point by about 1,000 degrees. But that makes the glass a little unstable, so we throw a little bit of lime in there. Lime from limestone. Don't throw food into the burn. But that is the formula for crystal clear glass. If you want to get different colors in glass, I can add different metal oxides to the glass. If I add cobalt oxide to glass, I'll get one shade of blue. If I add iron, I'll get green. If I add manganese, I'm going to get beautiful shades of purple. If I add precious metals like gold to glass, I'm going to get beautiful rubies and pinks.
Wow.
So what we have inside those little gravy boats are little crushed up pieces of glass. They're glass with those metal oxides already melted inside there. And we have them crushed up, so essentially all I have to do is get this piece nice and hot, and with that heat, roll right inside of these little gravy boats full of color, and it's going to stick right to the surface like sprinkles to ice cream, being a whole nother layer of this beautiful glue. Now, I don't want to put any more of this glue on here because I'm going to make a nice big piece, but if I put too much, the color's going to be too dense. It's not going to look very blue, it's going to look very black. Which is good either way, but I want to make a nice blue piece for it today. So I have a secondary color up here, a little bit of a turquoise blue color, which I'm going to spread out across the table here. I don't need to cover up the full thing. I just want to have some of these little turquoise pieces on there without covering my first entire layer of glass. Now, I have been talking quite a bit. Does anybody have any questions about what they've said, seen so far, or anything I've said? If not, no worries. If you think of anything, do not hesitate to ask me. So I'm just heating this up. I'm going to roll it across the table and pick up some of these pieces. And again, just trying to spread them out a little bit, not too much, just enough to get a little variety in the piece. Yes?
How does it hold your hand without getting too hot?
Okay, that's actually a really good question. He's asking how come the blowpipe is not getting really hot as I'm going into these metal chambers. Part of it is the material that I'm using. I'm using stainless steel, whereas they would have used 2,000 years ago, they would have used iron. And both of those conduct heat, but they don't conduct it really as well. Now this pipe was made out of copper or bronze, my hands would be on fire because they're very good conductors of heat. So this is the point where I like to get you guys involved a little bit more. Right now I have a lovely polka dot pattern. I know it's very hard to see right now because it just looks red and orange, but it is a polka dot pattern. And we could leave it as a polka dot pattern, or we could swirl it to the side. Who wants polka dots? And who wants to swirl? All right, let's hear you guys look at polka dots. So So we're going to do this.
It's like the girls game. That was nice. The hostess is like that.
So to get that
It's a
swirl,
good like family
I'm going to
game.
superheat this, because normally I like to do the swirl technique inside the reheating chamber. I want to get it a little hotter so I can bring it up so you guys can see.
So it's not very good.
It's kind of starting.
Essentially, I'm going to do is really build up the heat here. Come on, just a little bit more. That should be good. Alright, so I'm going to take a pause, let it droop down, let it fall down. I'm going to start to pull, or start to turn nice and slowly. And it's basically letting this glass stretch. So it's pulling those little dots of color that we had a second ago into nice, beautiful lines of color. Alright, so we got a really weird swirl there, but we will make it work.
It's like those light bulbs.
Yeah. I'm sure that's how they
So
make it.
now I need to get this nice and hot one more time and shape it back up into a nice even cylinder because it's still a solid mass of glass. I do not have a bubble inside here yet, so I need to change that. But first I need to make sure I shape this up and get it as even as possible. Now you can see when I was doing that swirl technique, I was kind of letting the glass do some crazy things. And if I have any pockets of cold glass inside this mass I have down here, when I go to blow a bubble, that big pocket of cold glass is not going to push out nice and evenly with that air. It's going to conform around it, and that's a great way to get an uneven bubble. And once you start off with an uneven bubble, it's very hard to keep everything nice and even and straight from there. You don't want to mess up the first step, first couple steps. So I make sure I got this nice and hot. Again, shaping it back down, getting it nice and even. It's hard to see our swirl pattern now, but as we start to increase the size of the piece, it becomes much more evident, I promise. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and blow to one side. Trap that air with my thumb. And you can see it start to expand. Now we have some air inside here. But this is not enough glass to make the object I want to make today. So we're going to shape this back down into a nice cylinder and let it cool off. I know it's crazy to say, but I'm going to let it cool off to about a nice, comfortable, manageable temperature of around 1,000 degrees. That's when it's going to be nice and stable. Be nice and set up. It's not flowing. It's not moving nearly as much anymore. I can stop turning. It's not going right down to the ground because of gravity. So let this cool off for two reasons. I need to go get another layer of glass. And I need to cool down for two reasons. Number one, I have that bubble established inside there. If I go in too hot and heavy, I could collapse that bubble, and that would just waste my time. Number two, and even more important, that's a lot of color on this piece, and that's a clear furnace inside there. If I go in too hot and heavy, I can strip off some of this color into that furnace and leave a little schmutz behind, and that makes me enemy number one in the studio. So you can see we have all these different workstations here. And I can be working these colorful pieces down here, while Joe Schmo at the very end is working on these beautiful crystal clear pieces. He goes to get his next layer of glass, gathers up that schmutz left behind. Is a great way to end friendships and create enemies. But like I say, glass is a very poor conductor of heat, so in the short amount of time I was talking with you guys, it has cooled down. Oh, quite a bit. So I can get my next layer of glass. Anybody? Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Alright, so now I've increased the amount of material in our piece. Now I have two separate layers. I have a colder core and a hotter exterior. I'm trying to even those two out just a little bit. That core is slowly being heated up by that fresh layer of glass. So I'm using this wooden tool called a block to begin to shape the glass and push some of that excess hot glass where I need it to go. Now this block is made out of fruit wood, more specifically cherry wood, which means it has a very dense grain and a very low sap content, which makes it great for working with these hot materials. You can imagine if I was using a wood with a lot of sap in the wood,
fire.
I could be leaving a lot of residue at the surface of the piece. We don't want that to happen. Sorry, you're good. I'm the one that's acting erratic today. You do your thing. All right. trying to get those two heats just a little bit closer to even. We'll take extra heat now, because once I get it even, I can start to selectively heat and cool a little bit more, so I can really push this bubble exactly where I need it to go. I'm going to bring this over and I'm going to run the bottle right along the surface of this metal table here, which is going to remove a lot of heat from this portion of the glass. That way when I blow my bubble and start to expand the bubble, it's not going to push right down to the bottom immediately. It's going to go more towards the sides. Come on, give me some air on this one, Jordan. What? Give me some air on this one, if you don't mind, friend. So we got it started. I'm going to have you go ahead and start to blow gently. Yep. Jordan's going to add a little extra air. And I'm going to start to make a little constriction line with a pair of jacks. You can stop there, buddy. This is going to be a little indication where we're going to break it off later. Now go ahead and blow again, please. You know, let's stop there. I'm going to just get a little more heat. Does anybody else have any quick questions while we have a moment?
How
Yes, sir.
how heavy is it?
How heavy is it? It's not very heavy at all. I'm just making it look like a Herculean task. So I might have maybe a grand total, maybe a pound and a half of glass on here. But because it's counterlevered on a pipe like this, it does feel a little bit heavier. And that becomes a really big factor when you're making much larger pieces. All right, buddy, go ahead and blow very gently. So now I'm going to use a very, very fancy piece of equipment that's coveted by glass blowers across the world. It's called the wet newspaper. And this is as close as I can get to shaping the glass with my bare hands. You can stop there. I'm going to get a lot more heat this time. That was me, not you. Yeah, no worries. We'll do that next time. Thank you, Jordan. You go ahead and you can start to blow. You can do it gently again this time. So when Jordan first starts to inflate the piece, starts to blow up the piece, adding air pressure, he blows very gently at first when the glass is nice and hot. You can blow a little bit harder now, friend. But as we're going, and as the piece cools off, I'm shaping it, I'm cooling it, you can start to extend it even more. You can stop there. Alright, so I've got this base shape. I'm going to use a little bit of an invisible tool at this moment to help me make this piece even longer, to help change the shape a little bit more dramatically.
Let me get clear.
So now I'm doing a little bit of spot heating. I'm holding about half the piece inside the heat and the other half out. I'm making sure one portion is getting much hotter than the rest, and the other part is getting warm, but it's not getting the same amount of heat. I'm trying to get one specific area, one portion of the glass to move, and the rest of it to stay set up nice and even. And then to get it to change shape, I'm going to use an invisible tool. I'm going to use a little bit of gravity to start to elongate this piece. If it's not quite moving the way I want, I can start to encourage it to move a little bit more by swinging in a pendulum motion. If I'm feeling particularly froggy that day, I can take it around the world. All right, go ahead and blow again very gently, friends. All right, you can stop there. With a little extra heat, we'll try to leave that out just a little bit. So as we're working together, I'm referred to as the gaffer. I'm the gentleman in charge of the piece. I'm calling all the shots, making all the decisions. But I've got a wonderful assistant here who's giving me a hand because I'm not a mutant. I don't have 4 sets of arms. Go ahead, blow nice and gently. Or, a whole other body is much more useful than just being a mutant. So, it becomes very clear that communication is very key as we're working together. So you can constantly hear us talking back and forth to make sure we get this nice and right. Go ahead and stop. I'm going to get a little more heat. And then we'll just add just a little extra pressure this next time. You're all good, friend. I appreciate you doing it nice and gentle at first. All right. All right, this time we can go ahead and blow. You will look more like a balloon now. Now blow as hard as you can for a couple seconds. Very nice. Now, as we're working together, I'll be calling all the shots because I'm the gaffer and I'm in charge. But that means I have full control of what's going on. You can stop there, I'll get a little more heat. Definitely take a breath. As we're working together, if Jordan brings me anything, I'm not a fan. If he brings me a bit of glass that's too cold, or there's not enough heat, or whatever it happens to be, it could be an endless list of different things because there's so many things that can go wrong. We got to make sure that we have it right as we're working. If I tell him to take it back and do it again, it's not a reflection of his skills at all. Go ahead and blow again. It's just not what I needed at the time. He just gives me exactly what I need. You can blow ahead a little bit harder now. Thank you, friend. Now that being said, if he does bring me something I don't like and I decide to take it, that's me. That's my fault. I knew that was going to happen that way. That is all my fault. You can stop there, bud. Let's go ahead and if you want to grab me the first bit for a leg, either do one big gather or a double dip, whichever you feel comfortable with. I think we'll just do the dark blue for the limbs. How long does it take to learn this? That's a really good question. How much time are you willing to invest in this? That is really the answer though. Because you can come and hang out with us for a couple of weekends, you can take some classes and you can learn the steps. But it's really the amount of man hours you're willing to put into this. Because I put about 7 years worth of man hours into this so far, and I am just exiting my assistantship phase, entering my journeyman phase. So I have maybe another 20 years of working with this material nonstop to become a master of this.
That's a lot.
It's like a trade then.
That being said though, if you do want to come learn how to master here with us, we would love to teach you and hang out with you the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, that takes his age.
Cobalt. Thank you. I don't ever forget cobalt. But besides, doing all these different classes with you guys and the demonstrations for the public, we have some other very specific programming that we do here at the studio. We have 2 partnerships with local universities, Old Dominion and Virginia Wesleyan, to teach semester-long classes to college kids, which is actually how I got started as a student at Old Dominion, and I was really tired of what I was studying. I found this because they had just started offering glass blowing in the studio. I jumped on it, fell in love with it, and never looked back. We also work with the Governor School of the Arts. We've actually been working pretty heavily with the Governor School of the Arts this year, and as many classes as we can fit, so we get to work with high schoolers as well. And then we have a partnership with the Boys and Girls Club of America, so we can work with every single age group. We really try to hit every single age group. So right now my job, while Jordan is getting me this bit ready, is to just make sure my piece stays nice and warm. If my piece ever dips below 1,000, okay, go ahead and just marble that into a nice cylinder, friends, and then get a nice good heat. We'll bring it over. You don't need to let it all fall off though. No, you can have a little bit back there as a mass. Now again, if my piece ever dips below 1,000 degrees, that's when we can run the risk of it wanting to crack. You crack off the end of the pipe and fall into the floor and become a nice floor model. I'd rather not have that happen with you guys today, but it most certainly has happened. And anybody that has worked with glass for any amount of time knows that feeling all too well. You can just stay right there for a sec. I'll just take a piece of the furnace now. Just get a little more heat and we'll bring it right over. Sorry about that, bud. Essentially, so because I've been working with this for a number of years, I kind of have an idea while I'm working how long I have before I go back in side. But I could absolutely spend just a little too much time out here and go back into this reheating chamber, and it's just a little too much. Actually, yeah, I forgot those are on. Totally use those, bro. I totally forgot those were on. Use those if you want. I'll be ready when you are. That's actually perfect. Come right on over. Let me just scoot back just a little bit. Perfect. And toss that. And get another bit started for me, the exact same if you don't mind, friend. Hey, that'd be wonderful. Thank you so much. And you can just leave it open. So, you can see on this reheating chamber that we have a series of doors on here that we can start to open as the piece starts to get a little bit bigger. We're going to start to accommodate that new size. Dinosaur picture for you guys today. So we're making basically the base of the body is going to be the pitcher. We're going to have two little legs and a nice big tail to be the tripod where you can sit. Get a little bit more glass. I don't think you have too much than too little. Does anybody else have any quick questions while we have a moment? Because right now it's just a waiting game. Does anybody know when glass blowing started? Glass blowing started around 50 BC in the Roman Empire. Now, I say Roman Empire, I don't necessarily mean Italy. The Roman Empire was a vast empire that spanned several different continents. So when I say Roman Empire, I mean closer towards the Middle Eastern region, towards Syria, is where they started blowing glass. Say that? Absolutely. But it's also just a heavily industrialized area in some places. I say industrialized for the time, where they're learning how to smell bigger and more amounts of copper, bronze, iron, stuff like that. And actually that's how they figured that glass was discovered, as a byproduct of learning how to smell these different metals in vaster quantities. Because essentially they use like a silica sand on top as an insulator. And after a couple of times, they realized it just melted into this big glass slab, or this big clear slab on the top. Not really clear. Had a lot of impurities in it. And that's how they think they discovered it. Now there's a couple other tales. Most of them are, just tall tales. All right, bud. Just go ahead and get a nice good cylinder on that. Take your time heating that up.
How many master glass blowers are there?
How many master glass blowers? That's a good question. I can only imagine. I won't lie, my scope of the glass world is still very narrow. I'm still very new to it. I've met some people, I've met some very cool people, some very awesome artists along the way. But there's just different levels of skill everywhere you go. I cannot claim to know any or all. I can tell you there's more amateur glass blowers than there are masters. Now, does anybody here have Netflix at home? There's a wonderful TV show, if you haven't had a chance to take a look at it. It's called Blown Away. It's essentially a glass game show, kind of like the Forged in Fire, that knife competition show, that knife making competition show. Except it's done with glass. So if you get a chance and you want to watch some more glass blowing, definitely check out that show. What's really cool about that show is that, I'll be ready when you are. Just do a quick mark. Perfect. That's all you need. Straight on with the plane. And stop. Good. I think I don't know if I finished my thought there. But the really cool part of that show is a bunch of those artists, whether of their contestants or guest judges have been to the studio some way or another. It was kind of cool seeing them on a TV show like that. If you want to get me one more big bit, bud. If you look at my dinosaur here, you can see exactly why they went extinct.
Sorry.
Yeah, but the same size gathers you had last time were perfect, though. Yep. So glass blowing started around 50 BC in the Roman Empire, but glass it was a very utilitarian craft. Everything we made had a purpose. Everything had a use. And glass was one of those really cool materials that was very easy to break, but it didn't have the same issues of other containers at the time. Other things like clay, making clay objects got a little porous so they could spoil liquids and fluids that were stored inside there. But it doesn't quite do that with glass, which is part of the reason glass is. Oh my God, I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. As I got thinking about something else, I wanted to say to Jordan, but he's doing everything fine. Just get a nice good eat, bud, and I lost my train of thought, so I'm so sorry. Just take a quick flash. You stay right there, actually. Don't. Yeah, I'll be ready for this. So this time you do a little more of a 45. 45. 45. There we go. And that was my fault. I'm not giving you great instructions, buddy. All the sweat in my eyes right now. It's probably wonderful. Thank you. And you just leave it open. Slowly pull this tail down just a little bit so it's a bit closer to the feet here. So you can actually sit down like a tripod. That might be close enough to work. We'll see. Alright. So I'm actually going to, before we bring the punting, I think, what do you think? Think we should do arms for this guy? Should we put little arms on him? Yes or no? Yes? Okay, that's enough for yes. We'll go with punting up first, we'll put the arms after. Yeah, we'll punch you up first. So now Jordan's going to make me a very specific bit. This bit is called a punty. We're going to bring this punty over. It's going to act as a little bit of glue. We're essentially going to attach it to the base of the object here and break it off where we put this little constriction line in earlier, this little jack line. Because we've got as far as we can go on this pipe. Now it's time to transfer it over to a new pipe. Perfect. That should be fine. Now we'll We'll be the first to know. So to bring this over, we're going to attach it to the bottom. As on center as we can. How you feel, bud? So we are. Going to give that a second to chill just a little bit. I'm going to take these absurdly large pair of tweezers, and we'll run just a little bit of water along this little constriction line that we put in here earlier. Now, some of you guys might be able to hear a little bit of a hiss. That is the glass being thoroughly shocked by the water. It's making it the coldest and the weakest point on the piece. Ready? So I can bring it back and I can tap it. The vibrations go down and break off at that weakest point. Now, if I hadn't made that constriction line earlier, there's a good chance that piece would not have broken off at all, or even worse, broken off all super jagged, and I'd spend some time trimming all that up. Now, I've avoided both of those steps. But all the glass you see that's remaining here on the pipe is what we call the moil. It's essentially the anchor that was holding the piece to the pipe. But it has now served its purpose, and is no longer needed. So we're actually going to replace it in one of those bins over there. And because that glass is not going to go through that cooling process, that annealing process, it's going to get super cold really fast and shock itself and all crack off the end of the pipe. I think it should be good for a little bit. Then we're going to go ahead and get another bit, and we're going to make the arms real quick. So my job, while Jordan is making me these next couple bits, is again just to maintain the heat, maintain it, make sure it stays nice and warm. Anybody else have any quick questions while we have a moment? Have you guys had a? Oh yes, go you first. That's a really good question. She's asking if the pieces that we make in the demonstration, do we sell? Yes. We actually have two different sales. Two different times of the year, one right before Mother's Day, one right before Christmas, where we have all of our demo objects that we've made and collected throughout the year, and they're out for sale during that time. However, if you've come to a specific demo and you really like the piece that you saw, you can go talk to the gentleman at the front desk, and he'll be happy to give you a nice little form that says, hey, I saw this demo, and I'm interested in this piece. If this piece survives the cooling process, I might be interested in buying it. So we don't want to sell you something that hasn't survived yet. So those are the two different options you have if you really like this piece. If you saw a piece that you like, you happen to see it, you really want it, I totally understand that as well. Has anybody here had a chance to go up to Jamestown at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the glass blowers up in Jamestown?
No.
Well, if you have, it's awesome. If you haven't, highly recommend you go see them because they're just a great group of guys. They just have a lot of fun making really cool pieces. And it's very much a production style studio. When this is more of an education facility where we teach you guys classes, they are making product. They're making quotas that they had to reach every single day. So it's a whole different mindset as far as working with this material. I'll be ready after this flash. You hold for just a second, Frank.
Most people want glass.
Alright, I'll move it over. I told you to flip. Why did I tell you? You was going to shake that back down to the cylinder. You can probably accept it next. But also part of our programming, besides all the classes that we teach, we have a performance series that we do every third Thursday of the month. And it's where we use something performative in glass. It's not necessarily geared towards making an object. And those Jamestown glass blowers came out, they hung out with us. I think it was last summer. And they turned glass blowing into a game show. They basically took all the trials and calamities they would have faced as colonial glass blowers and made a wheel of misfortune. And whatever they spun on, they had to try to make a piece with that misfortune. So one of them got inclement weather, really bad thunderstorms. So we gave all the audience little dollar store squirt guns, and they soaked him and the piece while he was trying to make it. Another gentleman got disease, so they put live leeches on his forehead.
Absolutely not.
So again, it's really fun. We do all sorts of really cool, crazy stuff like that every single month. Okay, up and over the button.
It's crazy.
That's alright. If you just want to take the rest of that, we don't need it. You can toss it. Never mind. I had a thought, now it's gone.
I like
Anybody else have any other good questions for me at the moment?
I see it.
See me dripping?
Yeah, that's good.
Alright. Nope. That's actually a really good question. She's asking if all colored glasses really look the same way. The color I'm using today is one of those rare cases where the color is going to look pretty much the way it is now when it cools down. Most of the time, when the color's still really hot around 1,000 degrees, I'm going to appreciate it. If it didn't reduce, I'd absolutely let you do that. For the most part, when glass is really, really hot, it just looks really different. Most of it just looks orange. And you can see when I come out of here, there's different portions that do just look orange. But still, a lot of times the color looks very different even when it's still sitting around 1,000 degrees. Like a nice, beautiful red usually looks very brown until it cools off to room temperature. So sometimes there's a lot of guesswork, there's a lot of hoping and praying that your color is going to come out the exact way that you want it to come out. Okay, just making sure that's on center. You mind opening up another door for me, buddy? Can you just open it all the way? Alright, so now we need to open up this other section. So I'm going to heat this real quick. You can just leave it open for half an hour. I'll start to do some specific heating here towards the top. Not a lot, just enough so I can start to even it out. Just enough. The question we usually get is, how come you guys don't wear gloves? You're working with this very hot material. How come you don't try to protect your hands? Well, it's mostly because we want this dexterity. We want to be able to continuously turn the pipe nice and even. You can grab a paddle real quick, buddy. Turn the pipe nice and even. Okay, so put some pressure on it. That's fine right there. Okay, I'm going to look just a little pull. Do it one more time. So, to fuel the furnace and our reading chambers, we use predominantly natural gas. And we use electricity for our kilns. Now, even 1,000 years ago, they didn't have those luxuries. So they actually had a couple different fuel sources they used to fuel their fires. Wow, I could not find my own jacks. Let me go on. For the most part, they used lumber as their predominant fuel source. Now the question normally after that is, how did you get a 2,000 degree heat with just lumber? Well, usually you had a series of bellows, a series of thick fans that you could pump oxygen into that little chamber to increase the amount of heat. Perfect. I'll take a quick flash and then we'll start to get that spout ready, which means you have to take for a flash button. After that, we'll get ready to put it away. Just leave it all over for a sec. We're going to start to heat up that one spot for a spout. And then I'll have you just take a quick flash of the image. Alright, so it's not quite a picture yet. So to make it a picture, we gotta change one more thing. I'm gonna use this little hand torch to heat up one specific area, making sure this one spot is getting nice and hot. This is just to make us spout. So I'm going to go ahead and Jordan going to take a quick flash for me. So just going to take a quick flash for me, which will give a nice good heat to the whole piece, but really specifically heat in that one area I was heating with the torch, because I want that area specifically to move. If I got the whole thing hot enough to try to get that one area to move, I would have very little control over it. So if I use temperature as my control, I can get a lot more leeway. Actually, I got this flash. I'm gonna go shoot up, bud. All right, so now we have our nice little spout. Very whimsical. And all the sweat is in my eyes right now. I'm so sorry, guys. So we're actually all done with this piece. The last bit is to put this piece inside the kiln now. So I've actually sent my assistant back into the kiln room to put on some very protective gear. He's going to put on some gloves to be able to catch this piece, along with a nice, beautiful face shield. Or a welder's jacket. Now that face shield is super important because the kilns that we have in the back are what we call front loaders, meaning we open them up like this. And every time we do that, we get a lovely wave of 1,000-degree heat to greet us as we try to put the piece away inside the kiln. So if you're not wearing a face shield, it's a great way to lose crucial portions of your beard and your long, lovely locks. And we'd rather not have that happen. So my job has been to flash this piece a couple times. And Jordan, if you notice, he actually just put his gloves in front of that heat source to heat them up just a little bit. Because it would be a crying shame to go through this entire process just to grab those cold gloves at the end and crack it that way. Not that I've done that before or anything. So now I'm going to break this off the same way we broke it off earlier. I'm going to put some water as close as I can to the top of this punty without touching my piece itself. I'm going to just tie it a little bit of water over here, bud. That's actually part of the reason why I'm holding this piece up in the air, so gravity works in my favor. The water rolls back into the piece. Ready? Jordan's going to grab it. I tap it, and because he brings me the perfect punty, it pops right on off. And if you watch on the screens above, you should be able to watch us put this piece away inside the kiln. So now it's beautiful, it's right inside there, and that's where it's going to sit for the rest of the day until we're done making all of our objects. And once we're done making all of our objects, that's when we'll turn the kiln off, and we'll start to slowly cool down to room temperature, and whatever is the thickest piece inside that kiln will dictate the longevity of that cycle. Because you can over-anneal a piece as much as you want with no effect. If you under-anneal a piece, you don't want a thick piece cool down over a long enough period of time, it's going to crack at some point. You basically just made yourself your own glass tanker. All right, guys, thank you so much. Yes, sir. Say one more time.
How do you decide the thickness and how long?
How do we decide that? We have different cycles that we can set it down on. If we have something that's like a nice thick paperweight the size of my fist, it's like a 24 to 30 hour cycle. If we have stuff that's much thicker than that, we can make it over personal cycles. We can send it down over a period of several days or several weeks if we need to. All right, guys. If you guys could do me a quick favor, let's give Jordan a big round of applause for all of your hard work. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to ask me now. If not, no worries, feel free to come up and ask me. If you guys want to skedaddle, I do release you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.